Ladies and gentlemen, big hairy news.
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairy News. Kia ora, Chippy.
Kia ora, Pat. You look different tonight. Something's up.
It's probably the way I'm brushing my hair these days. I think
You
that's
sure
probably...
it's not? You've forgotten to do all your washing.
Yeah.
So you're sitting in the studio nude?
Are you calling me a bitch? No?
No, I'm talking about you being yeah,
Well,
that's what I'm saying.
The truth is I forgot to bring a hat downstairs with me, so obviously I can't be seen with a hat on, so so this is it. No, in all seriousness, to be honest, I think I probably need to do a restart, and I came down a bit too late, had the whole show set up, and now if I do a restart, I'm going to lose all the tabs after all the stories for tonight, and none of my cameras want to say hi to my computer. That's probably all it is, but yeah, I don't know, maybe halfway through the show I'll leave you by yourself and I'll do a restart, but it is what it is. I guess I get to be the voice of God tonight.
Oh, sir.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah. No, I think that's all it'll be. So before people start putting in, it's $2 for the camera fund. It's not that. It's it'll be something in the system that just hasn't quite connected. And have I been on my camera today? Yeah, I think I have actually. So yeah, so it is what it is. And I'll have a play while we're doing the show. If we can get it back up and running, that'd be cool. And if we can't, we can't. No major troubles, Bubbles. How you doing, bro?
Good, mate. I caught the end of Bomber's new show, the Bradbury Group.
Yeah.
Just the very end. Saw our entire chat in there. So hi.
Floozies.
And I've got to say, you know how Bomber likes to wrap up a show with a little speech/rant.
Rant, yeah. Ranty pants.
Tonight's one was probably the best he's ever done.
Oh, nice.
I feel ready to fight God based on that.
Nice.
Very, very good wrap up to the show.
Well, because you're talking about it, I caught a little bit of it while I was upstairs. I do want to show. I'll show a little clip. I was about to show the wrong clip. Here we go. I'll show a little clip, and this will just, for people who didn't see it, give you a bit of a highlight as to, what Bomber's going to be about. Oh, chat is disabled. What his whole story is going to continue to be. We'll get rid of that chat. Which is there? Oh, no. All right, I can say there. And this was a part of the conversation where Bomber threw it to Matthew Hosking to talk about the budget. And Matthew was brutally honest. I'll play maybe 60, 90 seconds just to give everyone a taste of the Bradbury Group, and then we'll move on.
Matthew, you have been singular in your focus, warning of the overspending. Has Nicola slashed enough, or does the altar of Milton Friedman cry out for more fresh blood?
Well, I think first thing is she will spend more than any finance minister in New Zealand's history. She will tax more than any finance minister in New Zealand's history, and she'll borrow an ample amount that will be right up there with Grant Robertson, Muldoon, or Bill English at his worst. So
there you go. Spend more, tax more, borrow more than anyone ever has before. That's the right-wing / conservative pundit known as Matthew Hosking, what he thinks about the upcoming budget. And I guess just goes to show once again, Bomber's new show continues in the vein of the old one, getting people on he disagrees with to have a chat. But everyone seems to be speaking with one voice. They all hate Christopher Luxon. So that's where that seems to be the uniting force. Everyone hates Christopher Luxon. So yeah, I haven't watched it. I was doing stuff for the show. But I'm sure we'll do some clips and some bits and bobs tomorrow. Have a look back on it. Craig Rennie was on it. We gave him permission to be on another podcast, so that's all right. And and John Tamahiri in there as well. President, I think, officially president of the Maori Party of Te Pāti Māori, I think. I think he's president.
I think one of the takeaways for the, I don't know, I think I watched it for about 15, 20 minutes. The takeaway here is how little Damien Grant adds to the working group, or added to the working group. What he brings to the table was fucking minimal, because essentially that's the only thing that's changed, right? You've still got Bomber doing Bomber's job. Bomber has still invited people from different areas of the political spectrum to have a discussion.
Yeah.
You just don't have this Kermit the Frog voiced maniac. It's making some of the worst calls and worst comparisons known to man. He's just not there anymore, and I'm here for it. I'm here for the absence of Damien Grant.
Yeah, and I made it as a clip tonight, and I saw more people responding to it today. The comment last night that it's good to see Bomber now being cancer free was possibly one of the highlights of the year. And when he is cancer free, he performs as well, if not better. What I'm hearing you say, Chewy, and he doesn't have that growth sitting on the other side of the that hairy, moldy growth sitting on the other side of the desk, weighing him down. Cool. All right, team. Hey, well, tonight we've got a few things going on. We have Clint Smith with us. He's going to jump in and have a chat with us in just a couple of seconds. And then there's probably quite a bit, to be honest, about a similar topic. We're having a pre-budget chat with Clint, but we are going to also talk about what went on in the House today, and also from breakfast this morning, what Chippy had to say about Te Pāti Māori and the suspensions. Some very interesting points, and a lot of the points being made by Chippy and others today seem to be, how about some consistency here? And if we're not going to be consistent, why? And also, I think you were going to show this last night, True, but we never got around to it. So I went onto the News Talk ZB website today and found out about Christopher Luxon talking the Maorification of New Zealand. And I'm glad I did that, because Debbie Ngarewa-Packer asked him about that in the House today, and he fumbled and he stumbled, and he wasn't a big boy with big portfolios at that. He was a stuttering fool. So we'll play all of that stuff together, and actually the clips that we're going to play with Hosking, there's 3 of them. They're all pretty short. The other thing, though, they're all making this big deal about Thomas Coughlin. They're going to tax nurses more. It's I pay for the behind the wall stuff at the Herald, and I made that guess last night. It would be about people on 120,000 or more, and all of them, it is exactly that. And of course, they then say, like a nurse. And so now the story's turned into, they want to tax nurses more. It's utterly, utterly, utterly dishonest. And so we'll have a look at all that. And also, of course, Mike Hosking not being very happy with Gerry Brownlee doing his job correctly and accurately when it came to debate today. So it's a big old show for you tonight. Also going to tell you a little bit about Patreon, and also about the website as well. If you're a patron and you live in Auckland in particular, I've put a note up on the Patreon page today to get your feedback, to see if you want to do something, a little something, if you want us to slide into your DMs in a couple of Fridays' time when we're up in Auckland. But we'll talk a bit about that later on.
I'm going to be drinking beer somewhere in Auckland, somewhere. It'd be good if other people were there as well. But I'm quite happy to drink beer in a dark corner by myself, if not.
Yeah,
and I won't
like
cry.
every other night.
By
in a
a
dark corner
big
by
boy.
yourself. Let us welcome to the show, friend of the show, Clint Smith. Kia ora, sir.
G'day, lads. How's it going?
Well, it's going pretty good here. It feels a bit weird. It's actually not too bad. Not looking up and seeing myself. I'm not unhappy about this. It's might be a new thing.
Pulsating orb tonight.
Whoa. And it means that everyone can see Nala right through the show, and I don't have to be embarrassed because she doesn't want to spend time with me tonight. She's up there in the image, in the sun. Right, Clint, we want to talk budget, but we also want to talk about what went on in the House today. Fascinating call. Some are surprised. Some are saying actually a pretty good political move by the National Party. Caught everyone on the hop. Let's have a look at the one news story to start off with. We won't play all of it because I think there's commentary at the end with their reporter. Yep, there's commentary at the end there. But let's have a look at what happened in the House today, and also what happened outside the House around the suspension of Te Pāti Māori MPs.
In a shock move, the debate in the House over the suspension of 3 Te Pāti Māori MPs has been delayed. The last-minute change as hundreds of protesters gathered outside, shifting the controversial issue clear of this week's budget day. The government says it puts the focus back on the budget. One party leader, though, calling the move bullying. Political editor Mike Hosking has the day's events.
Their voices echoing across Parliament, eyeballing those inside.
It's a disgrace for us to have to stand here today.
I come from West Auckland, so the whole purpose, we flew here. We came here to support.
It is that thing we've talked about before, is when a political party, whether it's ACT and treaty principles, or when they can mobilise Māori to get on a plane and fly down literally half the country to attend a protest outside Parliament, when you've got that kind of commitment, you're in trouble, Mr. Luxon. And anyone else that name you want to add to it, you are in trouble, Ms. Collins, because this was a last-minute thrown together idea, and people flew from the other end of the country to be a part of it.
We talked about this.
Watching this space.
We've talked about how much Te Pāti Māori has activated people, right, and got them off the sidelines and into the fight. This is what's coming into the next election.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, we'll keep going and find out what's happening in Wellington today.
Our people.
Parliament's Privileges Committee ruled this haka last year intimidating, adding Debbie Ngarewa-Packer appeared to simulate firing a gun.
It is not about haka. It is not.
It is. Yeah.
Sure.
It is. Well, actually, technically it's not. It's about the naughty upstarts getting out of their seats. That's what it's about, because we've said it before, we'll say it again, there was lots of others doing haka within their seats. They weren't before. So you're right. It's not about haka. It's about those people getting out of their seats, because, again, the other people who did haka, they weren't before the Privileges Committee. So I think I agree in principle that it's not about haka, but I don't think that we share the same belief as to why it's not about haka. I think you're saying it's about something bigger. I'm saying it's about they left their seats, and that's actually what it's about.
Not about tikanga. It is not about the Treaty of Waitangi. Right. It is about following the rules of Parliament.
Really? Okay. We can note that one down, guys. We note that down, because I'm assuming if she says it's about the rules of Parliament, there's been no other MPs in this term who have broken rules of Parliament. And because that means there'd be no way we could compare like intimidation and bullying behaviour, because no one else has broken those rules. So these guys are the yardstick, because no one else has done this in this term or before. We should just remember that for the end of this clip, I think.
Parties agree some form of punishment is necessary, but with the co-leaders facing 21-day suspension and Hana Rāwhiti Maipi Clark facing 7 days.
Come on, TVNZ, you used that graphic last week. I know, because I stole it. Something new for me tonight, please.
The argument is it's too severe.
We have never seen a sanction of this nature in New Zealand's history before. We've had members undertaking fist fights in the lobbies, and they were not suspended at all.
Was that? I'm just wondering. I'm the moron here. Would that be breaking the rules of Parliament? I'm just wondering, because according to Judith, this is about the suspension is about breaking the. So therefore, I have to assume that having a fist fight between Tau Hanade and old mate Trevor Mallard mustn't have been, because there mustn't have been breaking the rules. Then there must have been fine, or else this would all make sense. I'm guessing. I'm just guessing. That's all.
But just as the debate got underway, a shock move.
I move that this debate be now adjourned to Thursday, 5 June 2025.
National shutting it down.
So that this week can focus rightly on the budget.
The opposition stunned.
It was an absolute show of bullying, absolute show of actually running chaos in the House.
I think it would have been better, having started the debate, for the government to allow the debate to finish.
So let me translate for you, whānau. The opposition knows this is an absolute balls up for the government, so they want to keep talking about it. The government knows that this is a huge embarrassment and a distraction for them, so they want it to go away. There's another way you can make it go away, Mr. Luxon. When you said there's no compromise yesterday, you could have said elsewhere there's a compromise. It could have also gone away like that. I know it's a bit difficult with the camera not being on, guys, because you can't see me kind of leaning backwards and forwards, but there is one sentence in this whole story, which to me is actually quite terrifying. And I'm not taking the piss. It's about what some people in the Privileges Committee, one person in particular, who doesn't get named, actually asked the questions about what they could do. We'll keep going with the story.
This is about not getting distracted by things that fundamentally don't move the dial for New Zealanders.
Te Pāti Māori's representative on the Privileges Committee suggests fellow members had a personal axe to grind.
People cross from a professional to a personal position. That's my view.
One member of the committee even sought advice on the punishment of imprisonment.
Right. Do we hear that, people?
Insane.
Someone, an individual in the Privileges Committee sought advice on those people you can see on your screen needing to spend time in prison for getting out of their seats. I mean, they don't say who it is, but it feels very Trumpian, so I'm looking towards an act in New Zealand first about that. And if either of you guys can shed any light on that, if you have any inside knowledge there, Clint.
Can.
Oh, should we send it now? Oh, okay. I haven't heard this. Should we do it now or should we do it as a surprise at the end of the story? You can pick.
There you go, for you.
Chippy, tell me.
Yeah, so sorry, mate, my internet connection is dropping out because everything's running so well tonight. You were correct. You were correct. It was an ACT MP. As soon as I saw that story going that somebody had asked, can we please jail an opposition party leadership?
Say that out loud.
I thought, who would be asking that question? Would it be someone from a nominally libertarian party? Yes, that feels right. That feels right in my nethers. If you're wondering, if you've never heard of this MP before, I wonder if this sort of behaviour, wanting to throw Māori in jail and somehow punish Māori for being Māori, I wonder if she's done anything else like that. Yes, she introduced a members' bill suggesting that universities shouldn't put any money specifically towards their obsession with the treaty or to scholarships targeted at Māori. Because she had apparently been speaking to some parents that were concerned about this. And when one of AUT's law faculty pointed out on her private Facebook page that this is a little bit rich, that a woman from overseas has come here clearly not understanding the treaty, then she turned that into, look at them, they're having a go at immigrants. So the mildest criticism of an ACT MP turns them into the biggest victim in the world. So this MP has form for this.
I've had some interactions over the weekend with people on Twitter about there's no such thing as institutional racism in the police. So even though the police, by the way, say they are from their own research, but let's just put that to the side and go, so we're saying that the 21-day ban is disproportionate and it's happened to, ironically, Māori MPs. We're saying that there is a current lawmaker in New Zealand that wanted to put people in prison for breaking a rule who happen to be Māori. I just don't quite see how anyone in this day and age, and then let's look at the crime stats, and then let's look at the conviction stats, and then let's look at all the negative stats in New Zealand and see how Māori are at the bottom of them. I honestly don't know how people can't look at it today. That MP, I don't know anything about them, but sure, you said they're a migrant to the country. has been educated by a sector that her response to Māori like that would be okay, and she's part of the ACT Party. I think that kind of says it all. I just don't see how anybody in this day and age can look at the disproportionate negative responses, reactions, convictions, conclusions made to and against Māori and not see institutional racism left, right and centre, and not see dishonouring the treaty left, right and centre, and not see we don't want to see you guys get off the bottom rung, even though there is a two-party agreement that says we're all the same, the two parties, the Māori and the non-Māori. It's just, I feel like that one sentence from the story, which we'll go back to in a sec, but that one sentence sought advice on imprisonment. That should be a 1 hour story on One News. And the opening sentence should be, what the fuck are we looking at here? Clint?
Yeah, it's insane, right? Like a government MP seeking to find out how to imprison an opposition MP because they got out of their seats, apparently. And we know what it is, actually. It's being an MP while being Māori is the crime, actually.
Yeah.
You know? They were, of course, that situation demanded a hugger, like that's Māori culture. And for her to turn around and say, I want you in prison, I think you should be in prison for that, it's insane. So is 21 days suspension.
Yeah.
Not by consensus. Most of the time when the Privileges Committee makes rulings, because it is about the behaviour of MPs across the House, it is usually because that behaviour has been grossly inappropriate, usually to the extent that the MP themselves recognises that and pulls back from it. Like Julianne, when she, Julianne Genter went across the chamber and leaned over Mark Ducey and said, look, I don't think what you're doing is not backed by the evidence, and got in his face, and that broke the rules. She was contrite about it. No punishment at all, right?
Yeah, but also it's important to remind people, not just no punishment. The accusation was intimidation, which is the accusation towards these guys. So it was the same accusation. Isn't it funny how the last week or so, Chippy, we've been talking about how Māori in our justice system, when they get convicted of the same crime as non-Māori, they go to prison twice as much. And now we're saying in the House, Māori are getting quote unquote convicted of the same quote unquote crime and getting a harsher. Isn't it weird how that kind of flows on? Sorry to interrupt you, Clint. Off you go.
Yeah, no, and the fact that this has been forced by the government's majority rather than consensus, because like I say, usually Privileges Committee decisions are by consensus. Usually, if that MP, usually their own party would say, look, there's a fair cop here, that the whatever it is, 1 day suspension, maybe be named in the House, which is, these are reasonably low level things. But it's by consensus because that's an enormous power. And the power because they can't vote while they're suspended. So that effectively, if the government wanted to, right, they have a majority on the Privileges Committee, they could go onto the Privileges Committee tomorrow and say every opposition MP is suspended for the rest of the term. And the problem is, now that they're saying we are going to use our government majority power to suspend some opposition MPs for an outrageous amount of time, we are moving towards that kind of abuse of power. Rather, that's why these conventions exist, like the Privileges Committee making decisions by consensus to stop these abuses. And I saw Chris Bishop on Twitter just about an hour ago saying, no, the reason why Julianne was treated differently than the Māori Party MPs is she displayed appropriate contrition and showed up to privileges.
She was a good girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Good girl.
Well, wait a minute. No. So, Yeah, so what's the offence here? Was it the getting out of the seats? Was it, or are we now adding subsequent crimes, Like, what is this?
Well, that's the thing. Like, even Luxon talking about this in a media stand-up, I think, on the Tiles, or somewhere there is interviewed about it, was that he added in their not turning up to the committee as, like, an aggravating feature. And it's like, that's not how the privilege committee works. Like, you don't have to go. Like, you go if you want to state your case, but it was very clear from their requests and the committee denying those requests that they didn't want Te Pāti Māori to bring in anybody to speak on their behalf.
Yeah,
Chris Finlayson of all people.
Chris Finlayson. And it just really shone a light on it that this is the Prime Minister talking about how privileges apparently works, and he's wrong. Again, he's an amateur. He's not very good at it, and he's the guy in charge.
Yeah,
and
he's
you don't
acting
know
like
how this core mechanic of Parliament. You don't understand how it works.
He's acting like he had nothing to do with it. It was his minister, Judith Collins, who led that committee. It was his MPs that who made the decision. If he thought it was too harsh, he could have said, "No, we don't do that, guys. That's not on." He's acting like they're an impartial court, and they're not.
Like a court. Yes, that's exactly my point. Like, he doesn't understand that privileges is making a recommendation to the House, not that they have cast a judgment that is set in stone. I saw someone's opinion today that went, imagine if the Privileges Committee had come out and said, we're going to, Hana's already been suspended for a little bit. We're going to reflect that on the party's leadership. They've got the same things, or 3 days or something. And then that story's put to bed. There's no meat on that bone for people like us or the media. There's no meat for people to get fucking angry about it. And you don't have this absolute clown show in the House that makes them look really, really bad.
Speaking of the clown show, we're going to get back to it. I want two other things quickly first. The first is when you were talking about Māori in the House, Clint. There are if you get onto YouTube and you can look around, you can find people that say, "What were you guilty of?" And they go, "Oh, I was driving while black." A black man driving a nice car through. That feels like what we're seeing here is legislating while Māori. That seems to be the crime here, is what they were actually doing. And the other thing is, how many pearl-clutching national MPs were so offended that not a single Green Party, Te Pāti Māori Party, Labour Party person stood up to denounce a journalist calling some females from their side of the party a crass word. All of the other side should have stood up to denounce it. Can I ask this question? We have literally seen an ACT MP echoing the kinds of things you would see in a fascist state. Now, I know people are going like, no, the left is using the word fascist, literally locking up your enemies when they haven't done anything. A fascist authoritarian position. Who the fuck from ACT or National has stood up to denounce that? I denounce the actions of this ACT MP, even looking into the idea of imprisoning someone for getting out of their seats. Forget it. Imprisoning someone for doing the worst possible thing they could do in the House, even if we want to sell it that way. Who stood up to denounce it? They were very keen last week to hear all the other sides say, you guys have to say this is bad. Well, I guess we're saying now, you have to say this is bad. This is from an authoritarian fascist playbook. I don't use labels much. This literally is from that playbook. I want to go back to the story, but you guys are welcome to respond to that first, or I'll push play.
I've got some comments about the strategy of it, but come back to that later.
All right, here we go.
Member of the committee even sought advice on the punishment of imprisonment.
What the fuck?
Well, I think it's nutty, but again, not surprising. That's just how out of touch they are. That's how extreme their thinking is.
This is about getting out of your seat, attempting to intimidate people, making gun gestures, interrupting a vote.
In that situation, really, was he in any danger?
While the debate may have been cut short inside Parliament, out here the people's voices have been heard, and some of them are promising they'll be back.
Yeah, most definitely, like, for the people, for us.
They're attacking the reo, they're attacking a whole lot of Māori rights.
This is the other thing, guys. You know, you heard her just say they're attacking the reo. That conversation didn't go away, but there was quite a big spike of it near the start, talking about, you know, the names of government. It hasn't been as much as at the forefront. And guess what? Well done, government. You put it back to the forefront for everybody to feed off again. Well done. Good politicking, boys and girls.
Treaty rights.
I'm embarrassed for us as tauiwi that today is happening again today.
And it'll happen again in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
This was a surprise move, Mikey. Was it political manoeuvre?
I turned the wrong one down, didn't I? We'll leave it there for the rest of it. All right, now I've had a good old rant. Clint, do you want to follow up anything specifically about that?
I just, you know, the substance of this is obviously nuts. The substance of the decision, totally unjustified, 21 days. It's insane. And you can only look at it in the context of the continuing attacks on everything Māori that this government keeps on doing. But I just want to reflect, you know, in my former life, my strategy was sort of my thing in Parliament. And even if they thought it was right to suspend an opposition MP for 21 days for, you know, the gross act of getting out of their seat and doing a haka, you know, that could have potentially been intimidatory. Even if they thought that was right, where the hell is the political strategy there? Because didn't they think that might create a backlash? And as recently as yesterday, Luxon had his chin out saying, take a whack, I don't care, you know? As far as I'm concerned, this is all right. And then, if they had wanted to not hold the debate today and hold it over till past the budget, all they needed to do was call up the Kieran Nolte in Labour and the offsiders and the other parties and say, look, can we just agree that we'll hold the talk on this after the budget, then everyone gets to talk on the budget. Bob's your uncle. And they might have done a bit of back and forth about appropriate dates, and they would have worked it out. And then at the start of question time today, the Speaker would have said, standing order, whatever, notwithstanding the debate on the suspension of the Pāti Māori MPs will be held over until X date. Instead, they let the debate start, let Chris Hipkins do one of his most fiery and well-received speeches in years, and then go, oh, yeah, can we come back and do this in 2 weeks?
Oh shit, this isn't going very well. Eject.
Yeah. So they've had the hit today. They've already derailed their own budget with this insane plan to suspend Te Pāti Māori MPs, and it's going to come back and bite them in 2 weeks again. Where is the thinking in National at the moment? It's all it's like everything that the reaction to everything they do is taking them by surprise. And you know, I think we'll have a chat about pay equity later on, maybe, but that's another one. You know, that, like, where is the strategy here? Where is if we do this, the other guys are going to do that, and that will be a bad outcome. So let's not go down that path. It's just it blows my mind. Yeah. How did they get themselves into that position? And then they're on Twitter, you know, trying to angrily post hoc justify it all. And it's like, mate, you could have just not tried to racistly expel Te Pāti Māori MPs. You could have realised earlier that you didn't want to do that in budget week. These are all in their control, and they just had to look, 2 steps ahead, and they don't seem to be capable of it at the moment.
Chewy.
Again, from a strategy point of view, I think if these guys at the committee had just held their shit together and not be circling around going, do we suspend them for an unprecedented amount of time that is definitely going to stand out and give people something to focus on. One of you guys is wanting to chuck them a Parema. I'm sure if we let this go on long enough, we'll be talking about hanging them on a public gallows in the forecourt. And just went, hey, 2 and 3 day suspensions. Hunter's already been suspended, so we don't need to worry about that. It would have been done. There would have been nothing that people could, like, there would have been grumblings, but it would have been seen in the framework of other suspensions that have been handed down for other things. Instead, they made it stand out. They did it in bold.
It's
And
insane.
there's just no other way that you can look at it that it's like, oh, like the points that I was making, that like, what a perfect example of Māori being punished far harsher for the same crimes as white people. Like, it's in the house now. You can't have a better example.
Yeah.
And
At the
all
point,
Pāti Māori need to do is stand back and go, see? This is what we're talking about.
At the point when Labour wouldn't agree with them, that should have been the point when they said, actually, we've got this wrong. Like, both, like, morally and in terms of precedent and in terms of the politics. But they just seem to keep on running into brick walls voluntarily at the moment, and I don't quite know what's up with that.
Why? Like, I can forgive some pretty questionable decisions from junior members in the House and that sort of thing, of people that haven't been. Like, Judith Collins was leading this ship. Did she not have any sort of concept that, oh shit, this is a bad way to go? Like,
well,
surely she should have had some more moderate voices. She should have been the more moderate voice in the room.
Yeah, and if Judith Collins was in charge and you were her prime minister, you would be watching that decision like a hawk. You'd be saying, I want to know what you plan to do before you go and do it. Because she's been a leader of the National Party and it didn't go well. So you can't give her too much rope. Like, you know, but it seems, and you know, we see this all the time, that Luxon is just checked out, right? Like, whatever his ministers, whatever the leader of the Privileges Committee is doing, he doesn't seem to know, doesn't seem to care. Just happens, and then boom, it blows up in his face, and he's like, oh.
We want to go and talk about the budget quickly, but before we do that, we just have to remind people the reason Luxon does do that, Clint.
I've got big people doing big jobs and big portfolios.
Yeah, that's why, because you've got big people doing big jobs.
Big jobs. Big jobs.
But even ACT has got some good support amongst their MPs.
Mr. Speaker, I'm a strong woman and I can speak for myself.
You know, so amongst them all, they're doing great. Clint, the upcoming budget. We just played that little bit from Matthew Hooton. The biggest spend, the biggest borrow, the biggest amount of cuts all in one hit. He didn't quite say it like that, but this conservative commentator seems to think, mother of all budgets 2.0 on the way. I
mean, the nominal numbers always go up, right? There's inflation, there's population growth, there's GDP growth. So the amount of dollars that is spent each budget and raised in revenue each budget, they always, if they didn't rise, then we would be either in deflation or like catastrophic depression. So, I remember Don Brash, trying to run the same thing of, oh, we're going to spend more on health than the other, and it's like, $1 more. It doesn't. Yeah, exactly. It's not meaningful. It's quite clear that, Nicola came out and said it, right? There's only 1.3 billion for new operating allowance spending in the budget. I know Craig's sort of run through this before, but why is there only 1.3 billion? Well, what happens is you go, I want to have debt at X level in 4 years. That gives me, based on what we think the economy's going to do, that'll give me X amount to spend, given how much revenue I think I'll raise. And so the primary constraint on that is where you set the debt track. And they are desperate to get back into surplus in 28, 29, even though, in the scale of a $400 billion would be $500 billion economy by then, 400 billion, $500 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 billi $1 billion each way, it's irrelevant to the people who lend us money. But they're determined. Yep, we're going to have to. She needs to be. She's going to open the books and say we're still on track to make surplus in 2029, and that tightens everything up because they refuse to raise any money, and so all that's left is the only lever they can move is spending, and so there's not enough money for even the commitments they've already made and the commitments that they've been making over the past few days, and so they have to find cuts. But of course, if they step back, they could say, well, we could raise more revenue. We could undo the revenue cuts that we made last year, which, have they transformed the economy? The $3 billion going to landlords and the other $14 billion of tax cuts? No one's noticed that. They could undo those tax cuts, and then there would be revenue that could be spent on things like health. But no, they're not going to do that. So they've cast around, where can we find the billions of dollars that we need to make the commitments that we pay for the commitments we've already made, given the very tight window of available new spending that we've created ourselves, and pay for the things like ensuring that the education system doesn't collapse, because that needs new money every year just to keep up with inflation, and all those other things that need funding just to keep up with inflation. And they've looked around and said, well, how about them poor workers? How about those women who spend their day helping old people clean themselves? Why don't we make it so they can't get fair pay?
Because they've all had it too good for too long, those groups of people. Too good for too long. It's time to take them down a peg or two to join the rest of us.
Yeah. And it's kind of, someone was saying the other day how Nicola Wills is actually quite ideological, and that shines through because her claim is, well, this is the funded sector. These aren't actually government employees. So they're technically employed by private organizations. And so why should the government be funding these settlements? Well, these people are performing public services. The funded sector are performing public services. The providers that they work for are contracted to the government.
Yeah.
Probably they should be just public servants, but we have the system. So the government gives money to contractors who pay the workers, and those contracts determine the level of pay that those people get. And so for Willis to turn around and say, well, that if there's pay disparities and pay inequity for care and support workers and community nurses, that's not my problem. Well, it is. You're actually the paymaster at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So she didn't want to pay them billions of dollars, and it worked out because she also needed to find billions of dollars of cuts to ultimately fund the tax cuts that she made last year. So here we are.
I've got a question for you, Clint. It's a bit of a random one because I've heard a few rumours going around about people getting together, citizens initiated referendum for putting the law back to being what it was, the Equal Pay Act, back to what it was. And the idea is, from what my sources are telling me, that it then could put it on the next election as a ballot question. And then literally when you go in to tick what you want to tick, there's also going to be a lovely reminder there of how these guys ripped money away from the most vulnerable women. Do you know anything about it? Have you heard that going around?
I have heard people talking about it. And when was it? Andrew Little's campaign launch on the weekend down here, I was saying to everyone, I think it's a fantastic idea. When someone first said it to me, I slightly recalled because I, as many of your watchers, I'm sure, and listeners, I was involved in the asset sales referendum back in 2013. But it's a big piece of work, right? You have to get out there, get 300,000 odd signatures signed, and get them in within 12 months, and that triggers the referendum. But actually, if you're looking at it now, how do we take this pay equity issue forward? How do we keep on making it relevant and give people hope that there's going to be a solution? Because there's 300,000 women who just got ripped off, in 300,000 households who are poorer as a result of this decision, and they deserve actually to have hope that that they're going to have their rights restored, and the left should come together and show that they're committed to that, by something like a citizens' initiation referendum petition, and it would also give. I think it'd be a great uniter for the left. We're kind of in this situation where the government's done a lot of bad stuff. The Greens have gone off and done their alternative budget, which is really great. Labour's getting themselves together. Te Pāti Māori is doing their thing, but there's no kind of united front, as it were. And I think that this kind of thing could really galvanise the movement, get everyone organised, and then, like you say, if it was completed in time early next year, I think you have 12 months from when the question is formally signed off by the clerk of the House to get the signatures, get it in time, and then there's the question goes on to Luxon. Well, are you going to put this on the ballot, or are you going to hold a separate referendum after the election at the cost of $15 million because you are too chicken to talk about this at the election? So yeah, I understand people are talking about this, and from my perspective, it would be a great one.
It would be such a clever plan, because you think about that now. Step away from this one issue. What other issue? Right, let's get a citizens' initiated referendum up for changing the names on signs back to Māori and English. And what I'm saying is, if that was also on the ballot at the election time, then they're going to go, oh, that's right. These guys, that's right. Oh no, I didn't like those things. It would be a reminder, literally, it'd be an advert, literally in the ballot box as a reminder of what these guys have done. It's if this happens and the people who are behind it, it's pretty clever. As I said, I just heard it on the on the grapevine, but yeah. Yeah,
I think actually, I mean, I remember trying to being part of collecting the signatures in 2013 for asset sales, and it was a slog. We got the first 150,000 pretty easily, and then getting the rest takes a lot of time. I think it will be different with pay equity, because there's 300,000 people who are already directly affected. Yeah, and their families, and their friends, and their parents, and all right. Exactly. Hey, it's probably getting time to wrap up, Chewy. You've been, and I've noticed the chat has been saying how quiet you are, Chewy. I'm sorry that we pulled you away from your fan base. Is there anything else you want to ask or mention to Clint before we move on?
Look, I would just say, you mentioned Nicola Willis being ideological. I think she's drowning. Because the ideology, the New Zealand Initiative handbook here is just absolutely leaving her for dust. And the complex environment that New Zealand is operating in on a global economy level, being turbocharged by her coming in and making some of the most asinine shoot from the hips, fuck the consequences, it'll all be fine decisions, means that she has literally painted herself into a corner. The things that I am expecting to see, and there's certainly been indications of that, is that they're going to open up the New Zealand Super Fund to put into a venture capital fund, which, like, if you want to put a different spin on that, they're cracking open my retirement fund to feed into private business, to again help balance their books. They're taking money away from the people that have the least amount of it, and they're leaving their donors completely safe on high ground. And we're just going to see more of that, because there is no sign that this government feels any need to listen to us, feels no need to stray off the path that they have created for themselves. And whether it's for that plan of, like, we're going to use this situation for austerity and privatization because that was always the plan, or we have no idea what we're doing and this is where we've ended up, so keep doing what we're doing. It's not going to be good.
I think it's all incredibly arrogant. They're governing like they are light years ahead of the opposition, or they've been in so long that they're completely out of touch. And this is the first term government. It shouldn't be like this. They should be treated more carefully. Where's the hope going to be in this budget? There'll be some carrot. They've suggested there might be something around KiwiSaver, although they're not going to increase the government contribution to KiwiSaver. If anything, they're likely to reduce it, target it. So what, they're going to force up the employee contribution? Because they won't force up the employer contribution, of course.
No, of course not.
So what, so the sweetener is that we have to put more into our KiwiSaver, whether we can afford it or not, at a time when there's a record number of Kiwis actually having to dip into their KiwiSaver for financial hardship reasons. And I think that we're going to see some other things like, I hate to say it because I think it's a great program, Warmer Kiwi Homes might be cut back. That's the installation program.
Fantastic.
I think because even with pay equity, they still need a lot of money just to balance out the hole that they made on purpose with the tax cuts.
You talk about KiwiSaver. I think we're looking at a 1-2 punch. I think it's something like that. Yeah, we're going to remove government contributions altogether. We're going to increase the money that you have to put in KiwiSaver, and we're going to put up the retirement age. So you've got to wait even longer to get it, and we hope that you die beforehand because you won't have enough money to go into our private healthcare facilities. Maybe that's just me looking into a grim, dark future.
Yeah, there'll be some sweetener. Unless they really have lost their minds, there'll be some sweetener that they've kept very quiet, because that's what you do. But they are doing some strange behaviour at the moment. They're governing like they don't care if they lose.
That sounds like the worst, the worst encouragement ever. Dance like no one's watching. Govern like you're not. I don't. That should be that should be the T-shirt.
Live, laugh, cut.
Yeah, there you go. I think we've just come up with some new T-shirts here. Hey, Clint, thanks for joining us tonight. Just to let people know as well, Craig Rennie is going to be with us and Barbara Edmonds on, I nearly said election night, on budget night. So they'll both be here with us live. Every chance I'm also going to do a quick 2 p.m. live broadcast with Craig as well, straight out of the lockup, to give you some headlines as to what's going on as well. But Clint, thanks for being a part of us, man. It's been good tonight. Hopefully, I know you're not based in Auckland, but if you happen to be in Auckland on the weekend of June the 5th, you should come along and say good day and catch up. Be good.
I'd love to. All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys. Always a pleasure.
All right, Clint. All the best. Thanks, mate. All the best. We've got 20 things in the starred chat.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No,
I was just going to say...
Just Pat. We've said this before. I'm just Pat. I know.
Yes, Your Holiness. Look, just a thought. And I mean, this is... I'm going to take off my fluffy hat and I'm going to put on a tinfoil hat here.
Okay.
We've spoken a lot about Atlas and its tentacles in this country, including the New Zealand including things like the New Zealand Initiative, which so many people in our government have links to.
Yeah.
And traditionally the thing that they have gone after is Indigenous rights.
Yeah.
And when I think to this Privileges Committee shit fuckery, what a great target an Indigenous political party that is activating Māori at an unheard of rate. What a great target for them to go after.
Yeah.
Is that a wee bit too much conspiracy?
Well, it's funny you say conspiracy group, you say Atlas Network, 6:21 p.m. tonight into my inbox. Don Brash, Hobson's pledge, the nail in the coffin for Māori seats. So, they're out there. They're still doing it. Let's get through some of these chats, eh? We'll start from the top. Reverse late V. Bill was early. I know someone gave us some shit yesterday about being 2 minutes past. We did come tonight at 2 minutes past. So we're working on the cameras. Andrew says, late, my life, my day immeasurably ruined. Yeah. We're okay with you, though. $2 for the camera fund. There you go. Baba, 1995 was 30 years ago. I'm older. Damn it. Yeah, that's right. Let's pretend you're old at 30. How does it make you feel, Chewy? All those old bastards at 30. Vanda Amour, late fee. Peter says Australians coalition fell apart today with Nationals quitting. Come on, Winston. You know you want to follow suit. Did you see the heckler he started shouting at today? Talk about old man shouts at moon. Shouts at clouds.
Oh, yeah.
It really was. I'm in Auckland. If it means you slide into my DMs, people who we'll talk about that in just a sec, actually. Kiwi Bird, Te Pāti Māori should have thrown hands instead, less sanctions. Yeah, that's exactly the point. If they'd have punched them, if they had have actually done something not just intimidating but violent, like Trevor Mallard, apparently that's less serious. Firstly, you want Westminster decorum, go to Westminster. Secondly, Māori are not British subjects. We are not bound by British tikanga. It's that simple, says Tiffany. Kiwi Bird, look up Palmer's history and interest. Dodgy as F. Another one from Tiffany. I've seen a lot of BJP shillery. Guess Palmjeet's one. Ken says it's as if the government didn't even notice the hikoi.
Yes.
That's true. They're totally tone deaf and
I was actually
as F.
Talking to Clint about that before we went to air, and the citizens initiated referendum sort of thing. As like, I'm sure you feel the same, chat. It's like we've been talking about this since the election. We have participated in doing more submissions and petitions and bills, if you're anything like me, than you've ever done before. This government has seen an absolutely unprecedented march on Parliament, and none of this is moving the needle for the government.
Yeah.
It feels like damn the torpedoes.
Well,
it feels like they're not worried about a second term.
Yeah,
they're speed running this.
It's either they really do understand it and they don't care because they've got something else in mind, or they're just so arrogant and they don't get it and they haven't seen it. They think it's all an anomaly. And come 12 months from now, no one's going to remember. I think either of those could be true. Gold says the look of fear on the faces of those ACT MPs during the haka looked suspiciously like contempt. Snowflakes. Tiffany again. Most here in New Zealand don't realise CCP and BJP plants are absolutely in the right block's party and are just as anti-Māori as colonial Pākehā and would openly talk shit about Māori if you go look. Tiffany again. It's so obviously that they're simply racist cunts. He's I think he's a German philosopher, Kuntz, isn't he? I believe.
The German vision.
National and thinking, Clint? Come on, mate. Yeah, I was going to say something about the word thinking, says Andrew. Tiffany again. Nacked first. Ku Klutz Kunz. Is that German philosopher again? Kunz. Brooke says, heard this from Chippy from a Stuff 3 news clip. We've been trying to talk to them for the last 48 hours. They haven't even been bothered to return any phone calls, and then they do this. Yeah, that's interesting. And Kookie wants to know if Magenta owes a late fee. Well, it's an interesting question. I think she gets a lot of credits of late fees for the work that they do on Friday
putting
night.
in work at the protest at Parliament today. I've seen her photos of the Discord.
One from Isaac. Cheers from Brazil, guys. I wish here people would care about these topics as the same way you do. Thanks, mate. Appreciate that.
Thanks, mate.
All right, let's keep trucking, shall we? Let's get over to your best friend, Chewy. What did you call me today? Something about denim? What was it?
A haunted pile of denim offcuts.
So this is Mike Hosking yesterday morning with the Prime Minister talking. Now, he quotes Winston Peters first, but then it's his question about the Maorification of New Zealand. Have a listen.
How do senior bureaucrats not understand that they're working for a government that have spoken very clearly on the Maorification of this country?
The question's so loaded as well. So what Mike Hoskins is alluding to is that, remember, it's the government talking. He said the government talking about the Maorification of New Zealand. It's really important. So this is not Mike Hoskins going, I'd call it the Maorification of New Zealand. He's saying, why don't they understand the government's position of the Maorification of New Zealand. Now, that's important because we've got a question coming up from Debbie Nato Apaka. So Mike's asking the question about what the government's philosophies are to do with the Maorification of New Zealand.
A government that have spoken very clearly on the Maorification of this country.
The government.
Well, where we see it, we call it out. I mean, you saw
But I
it
mean,
with
are
us.
they asleep?
Where we see it, we call it out. The Prime Minister owns it, right? Mike says, why don't they understand how the government's been so clear on the Maorification of New Zealand? And Luxon says, where we see it, we call it out. Luxon agrees that his government is talking about it, and where we see it, we call it out. It's all very clear.
Not understand that they're working for a government that have spoken very clearly on the Maorification of this country.
Well, where we see it, we call it out. I mean, you
But
saw
I
it
mean,
with
are
us.
they asleep?
Well, I mean,
Unbelievable.
Winston's obviously called it out very strongly, which is important. You've seen it also. We had a situation with Te Reo stop-go signs, for example, recently as well. And where we see it, we actually we say, look, that's not appropriate. We don't want. We need the stop-go signs to be really unambiguous and very clearly producing. The same thing here. We want everybody in the public service focused on delivery, focused on results, and not lots of resources tied up in things that isn't in the core business.
How is it still happening? How come it's still happening? How come somebody somewhere goes...
How come that there are bureaucrats and people that working in the public sector still acknowledging Te Reo Māori, half of the signatory to the Treaty of Waitangi, one of the official languages of New Zealand? How is it still happening that people are seeing that, Mike? Is that your actual question? How is it that people that work in the public sector are still not seeing it the way that this more and more authoritarian racist government sees it? That's the question? Just clarifying that's the question. Oh, that is the question.
It's tied up in things that isn't in
How
the
is
core
it still
business.
happening? How come it's still happening? How come somebody somewhere goes, I tell you what, I'm going to make a Maori road sign?
Yeah, well,
I mean, they're taking the piss, aren't they?
Well, I mean, we're a new government. We've been very clear
No, you're
about
not. You've been here for a year and a half.
No, we've been there a year and a half. I get it, but we want to run things differently from the previous administration. That's taking some people's.
Yeah, we want to get rid of the Māori language. We want to run things differently. We want it gone.
Some time to understand that. Where it comes out and they get it wrong, we're very quick to clamp it down on it and to say that's got to change. Get back to what the program is.
Okay.
So, it's very, very clear that Luxon knows what. I'm not even putting it on him that he agrees yet, but that Luxon knows what Mike Hosking's talking about when Mike Hosking talks about the Maorification of New Zealand. It's very clear Luxon understands what Mike's asking because he says, where we see it, we call it out. So Hoskins knows Luxon knows what Hoskins is asking him. He understands what the word Maorification means because he answers it and his descriptor comes back saying, yes, I know what you're saying. When we see it, we call it out, which makes this event in the House today, perplexing.
Modification mean to the Prime Minister, given he had no issue with answering the questions about it yesterday?
Well, I refuse. Yeah, I don't know what the member's actually asking the question about. I mean, it's not a term that I've used.
It's not a term that I've used, but I completely understand what the term means because yesterday with old mate Mike Hosking, I said of Maorification, when we see it, we call it out. And that leads to only a couple of conclusions. Either you were trying to be cool in front of your radio friend and pretend you knew what he was talking about because he's got a Ferrari, Mike Hosking, you want to be one of the cool kids, or you're caught out in realizing that you've just agreed with a racist trope and now you're being fucking called on it. Listen to it one more time.
Modification mean to the Prime Minister, given he had no issue with answering the questions about it yesterday?
That's really clear.
Well, I refuse. Yeah, I don't know what the member's actually asking the question about. I mean, it's not a term that I've used.
There you go.
Porky pig.
Part 1 of 3 with Mike Hosking. I'm just saying.
Look, there's so much with this. Okay, Mike Hosking with an incorrect. It's not even dog whistle. It's a fucking foghorn for racists.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even it's not even
just racist.
factually correct.
Yeah,
it's not even
just racist.
factually correct. It's not the Maorification of New Zealand. It's the re-Maorification of New Zealand. And if Luxon wants to rush to the defence of people that have such inelastic brains that they forget how to drive when they're presented with a red sign on a road with a word they don't recognise, they go, I got no fucking context clue for this. Off a cliff I drive.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake.
But,
you can drive in another country where you don't speak the language. We have design rules around signs for this very reason. If you go to France and you see a sign that says "ret," what does that mean? I'll keep driving. Like, it's these people are the lowest common denominator, that they can't use their context clues. They can't possibly think of any other language apart from English. It is depressing, and it makes me ashamed. You're doing more than me, Pat. You're actually going to te reo course and that's it. I just try to fix my pronunciation. I try to learn a new word here and there. I listen to what people are telling me. That, for me, is basement level minimal. That's minimal effort, but it's more than what these people are doing. And again, for our Prime Minister to completely ignore the fact that Mike Hosking has said something incredibly racist on one of New Zealand's highest rating news commentary shows.
Not one of,
and
it is the highest.
People aren't going to miss it.
Yeah.
Like, that was his opportunity to go in a completely different direction, and he lacked the political instincts, the common decency to go in a different direction with this. And it links back to everything that he's done. His government have done so many anti-Māori things, so many things against te reo. This is a man that tried to copyright the words kia ora for his little airline project because it was the name of their magazine, and he was told it was a bad idea. He was told several times, and he still went ahead with it. He got his dick slapped by the courts for doing it. And this is what we've done. We've walked into this guy being a leader.
Yeah. And Mike, we'll see you at 2 weeks in the Radio Awards. I'm sure that'll be a fun time if we run into you.
Oh, is Mike Hosking going to be there?
Of course.
Can I call him a haunted pile of offcuts to his face?
You can. Just make sure I'm recording when you do it. Right, let's get into the next question. And the next question, we hadn't seen the Thomas Coughlin opinion piece last night, but I said last night, I bet you, because these guys are talking about nurses paying more tax, I bet you it's actually talking about the income level, and Thomas Coughlin's actually gone, well, there's some nurses are in there, and it is exactly what we said. This is only 30 seconds, then I'll show you the article.
Hearing it
Did you
from
see
Hipkins
Thomas
as well.
Coughlin's piece over the weekend on
I did, yeah.
nurses?
Yeah.
A pay cut?
Yes, under the
Greens
tax
budget.
Yeah.
So they're saying it like they're singling out this group of people. Nurses get pay cuts. Nurses, like what the Greens have done is they've done this. They've done this,
nurses.
and what they've done this new tax plan, and everyone's going to not get one except nurses. That's how it's actually being sold.
And it's, and we've done a lot of work to actually lift nurse pay. I mean, it's $126,000, including allowances, equal to pretty much what they get in New South Wales, which is a lot of welfare.
That's a lie.
But I mean, that was just an absolute craziness and madness. But actually, Labor's no better. They want to borrow more, tax more, spend more. That's exactly where it is. We have to find a balanced responsibility to get the books back in order onto a pathway, but also make investments and also continue to reprioritise and make savings too.
Okay.
Right. So remember, nurses. Nurses. Here's the article. A delusional alternative budget from Greens is what we've come to expect. Editorial. So you can see the story here talks about analysis in this. The plan includes a 2.5% tax on net assets over $2 million and higher income tax rates for earnings above $120,000. And guess what, Chewy? Some nurses at the top of the scale earn that. So, of course, what this guy's done, Thomas, I thought it was Coughlin, but Coughlin, whichever it is, has put the facts and figures out there that people who are earning above $120,000, remember, we want this contextualized like Chloe did for us on Q&A. That means if you're on 120K, it's $5 extra a week. And if you're on 120K, you're earning about $2,300 a week, and you're going to get taxed $5 more, right? And for that, the Greens are saying free healthcare, free ECE, free dental, free GP visits. $5 more a week if you're on 120K. So he talks about the figures, and then of course he comes down here and says Thomas Coughlin showed how the Greens' uber keenness to slap more taxes on people would bring reduced after-tax income to the average registered nurse under his scheme. It's not true.
Oh,
That's
average.
inaccurate. It's not
Average
true.
now.
It's not true because it's $120,000. That might be true using Luxon's numbers, which we've already shown you to be false. Nurses wouldn't be alone. They would be one of many hardworking professionals to have less money in their back pocket. So remember, whānau, we guessed this last night. They're so predictable. Just like I guessed the person looking to jail the Pāti Māori MPs was probably from ACT or New Zealand First. We said last night what this article would be. We said it would be an article about income, and of course some nurses earn that income, and then they turn the article into being about nurses. So it's exactly as it says. Luxon is still lying, saying the average nurse is earning $126,000, including bonuses. That's not true. We've debunked that. We've had nurses experts on saying they don't know how an average nurse, with all the overtime they could possibly work and bonuses, would even get there. So let's just make that quite clear. It's not true. And the article is talking about finances, and they're choosing to say nurses as it's like a one-off all-over group, as opposed to some nurses at the top end may pay $5 more per week, but those nurses would be getting, playing their part for the country, be getting free GP visits, free dental, free ECE, and another one, which I can't remember right now.
So for about $260 a year, that's a lot of value.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and that's for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, and you're telling me that nurses are so fucking mercenary, so me first and damn everybody else. That's why I got into this nursing industry, to not help anyone, I'm just here for me. That tippy top of the nurses pay scale is going to be that fucking mercenary that they're like, yep, cool, I'm going to buy this. It's not about nurses.
No,
it's not about nurses. It is about spinning a narrative, and you can tell how frightened they are of this green budget, right? Because they have come out at it so aggressively.
Yeah,
it has been a full court press. The Greens are crazy. They don't understand finances. They want to tax everybody. It's pie in the sky stuff. It's just all like, if they weren't on to a good thing here, they wouldn't be talking about it. Like, they're coming at this like it's Labour's policy.
Yeah.
They're coming at it like Greens are going to be the dominant opposition party, and there's a chance that they're going to be the government.
Well, but
if
they have
weren't
form.
Scared of that, they wouldn't be talking about it like this.
They have form, because they were coming at the left last week like it was them who wrote Andrea Vance's commentary. You know, it seems to be what they want to do. It used to be blame Labor for when Labor was in government. Now it seems to be blame Labor for everything, even if it's a columnist writing or a journalist writing an opinion piece. They're still going to blame Labor for that as well. Yeah.
And man, it would have been real good. Would have been real good if someone from Labor had not joined Christopher Luxon.
Yep.
In his position about the ideas that the Green Party had.
Unrealistic. Hey, before we move on from your favourite man, see you in 2 weeks at the Radio Awards, Mike. Let's just have a listen to this last bit, because not to give too much credit, but Mike also wants the Prime Minister to know that Gerry Brownlee giving the Māori Party due process in government is abhorrent. And to the Prime Minister's credit, he kind of goes, well, that's sort of the process. He doesn't quite push back. Let's have a listen.
A couple of quick things out of last week. Is Gerry Brownlee letting the House down with that Privileges Committee response that he gave to the House last week? Everyone gets to speak. Everyone gets to have an amendment. Everyone gets to speak to the amendment.
Like the rules of the House. Is he letting everyone down, like letting the actual rules of the House come through? Shouldn't he just do what you guys have modelled the whole time and just steamroll the process? I mean, that's what you guys have set up with fast tracking, and he should just steamroll it. What does he think he's doing, giving due process to this like he's supposed to? I mean, what's it all about?
I mean, what's that if it's not stored?
Well, that is actually protocol, and those are, as I understand it, standing orders and rules in the House. The bigger issue is that we discuss sensitive and difficult and emotional topics in that place. The Māori Party are not getting penalised for waiata and for haka. That happens a lot. They're getting penalised for breaking the rules, getting out of your seat, gesture.
Bingo! And the truth shall set you free, Mr. Luxon, for getting out of their seats. Well done, sir.
Haka. That happens a lot. They're getting penalised for breaking the rules, getting out of your seat, gestures, disrupting a vote, all of that kind of stuff, and then not engaging with the Privileges Committee. We need MPs.
Hey, MPs, just so you know, no more gestures, right? Hands in pockets, hands at the sides, hands folded. No more gestures, because they're in trouble for gestures. The Prime Minister just said it. No more gestures in the House.
They're sent there by the people of New Zealand. They need to respect the rules of the place, because otherwise it just devolves into absolute chaos. And
was last week a new low?
Well, it wasn't great. I mean, because I don't like it, because actually, you got MPs talking about themselves and parliamentarians talking about themselves, and actually I try and stay above that fray because I want to focus on what New Zealanders need us to do. And at the moment, they want us dealing with growing this economy and dealing with the cost of living.
Yeah, but guess what's going to happen in a few days' time, dude? You guys are going to cut more, spend more, and borrow more than many of the recent. Remember last year's budget? You borrowed more last year. Nicky No-Boats borrowed more in last year's budget than all of Grant Robertson's budgets bar one. And he went through a global pandemic. And you guys, 12 months ago, borrowed more. 6 years of Labour, you borrowed more than they did in 5 of those years. So I'm sorry, you do throw up in the back of your throat when you say this, but I agree with Hooton. I agree with Hooton. Tax more, spend more, borrow more than in recent history. So I don't know how else to say this, and it's a bit immature, but they want us to look after the cost of living. Go fuck yourself. Like, honestly, we don't buy it. Go fuck yourself.
The core problems of the cost of living crisis have been identified long ago.
Poor people?
Grocery prices and rent. Have this government done anything about the housing industry?
No.
They haven't done anything like that. Okay, well, saying rents are going down. There's very little evidence of that. Have they gone after the supermarkets for their duopoly, for them operating basically in lockstep, for their anti-competitive behaviour, for their super profits? Have they gone after the banks? Those are 3 things that could objectively change people's cost of living very, very quickly. For working families, they could look at childcare costs. They changed that and made it an unworkable, barely interacted with system that everybody said wasn't going to work. So that's happened. They've made our healthcare costs higher because they're running down our health system and they're funneling more of our money to private operators. They are paying more for literal band-aids to our health system by putting more public money into private after-hours clinics.
Yep.
If he says he's laser focused on the cost of living again, I'm going to make him eat his tie. Like, it is just, and look, this is where this government is winning. They are winning the war of saying black is white, up is down, and people, they're a big chunk of this country that are swallowing that.
Yeah.
They are following this line that they're cutting costs. So they must be saving money, right? And it's not true. It's costing us more for less. But it's the Greens that are crazy. We have to have conversations with people in our lives, all of us. I saw a comment fly by. I did star it, unfortunately, about how somebody's mother gets all her news and opinion from the Herald. And so the line is, well, we can't afford to do all these. We can't have all of this free stuff. The answer to that is, but we did before, so it's not impossible. So what was different then? Well, the top tax rate. The housing market wasn't flooded with unproductive speculators. There's lots of things that are different. We can't afford to feed people. Well, apparently we can afford to feed the world. Radio New Zealand is, I think, up to their 16th story in the last 2 days about Costco selling cheap butter. It's mental. What is going on?
All right, we've got one more story, so we'll keep moving from here. Tiffany says, again, Maorification, did that coloniser really just... Yep. And Tiffany, again, we might have to send a wellness check for you soon, Tiffany. You've been in that super chats quite a lot. Make sure you're okay. All I can say to Maorification is Brits out. Arvids says, punch Hoskings, you still get less punishment than TPM, Pāti Māori. Tiffany, punch a denim-clad middle white dad, tease. Denim-clad, right? Yeah.
I tell you what, if I see his Ferrari, I'm going to let the tyres down.
Sorry for the unrelated super chat. Never be sorry. I was wondering if there's a link for the BHN Discord server, or is there not? And it's okay. It's okay. There will be one. I'm sure that if Kiwi Chat hasn't already seen your chat and done it, she will. Talk to the kids about the Discord. They're the cool ones. Blue whales are the largest babies at birth. Sorry, I haven't pre-read this, but I already kind of can see where it's going. Making them think the biggest babies on earth next to white cis males who think they are being oppressed. Thank you, Tiffany, for your input tonight. Right, let's get to this because they're not long clips, these ones, but we're going to have a look at Chippy on breakfast this morning. The first clip is talking about the National Party's response and in general what his thoughts are around the Equal Pay Act and what's happened there.
Government's desperately trying to distract people's attention away from the fact that they unilaterally cancelled the pay equity claims of 33 different workforces, hundreds of thousands of people, most of whom are hard-working and low-paid New Zealand women who are simply asking to be paid fairly. They've extinguished that without any notice, and now they're not willing to tell New Zealanders how much it saved. I mean, I think David Seymour got caught telling the truth here when...
Agreed.
He said the quiet bit out loud and said that this had saved the government's budget. It saved them billions of dollars.
Agreed. Thank you, Mr. Seymour.
Well, I think they should tell, hard-working New Zealand women how much extra are they paying for this year's budget because pay equity's been cancelled.
Mr Hopkins, the Prime Minister said many times that Labor made a mess of the books by overspending. So is the belt tightening your fault?
$17 billion was...
Actually, I know I'm interrupting. I probably shouldn't be true, but we always talk about there's lots of things that can come back that need to be repeated for the next 12 years. Tax cuts, landlords, tobacco companies. Tax cuts, landlord, tobacco companies. Broken promises, smoke-free 2025. These things, again, ferries, again. And Chippy hits it in this.
$17 billion was doled out last year in tax cuts for landlords, tax cuts for tobacco companies, and so on. That has contributed significantly to what Nicola Willis refers to as a structural deficit in the government's finances. She said before the last election she could do tax cuts without throwing the books further into the red. That's wrong. Actually, they've thrown the books deeper into the red than probably they've ever been. The responsibility for balancing the budget has rested with Nicola Willis for the last year and a half. She's failed to do that. We had a plan to get the books back into surplus. It was set out before the election. National departed from that. They said, no, we're going to cut all the taxes. They've done that. The people who have benefited are people like landlords who are still increasing rents whilst pocketing the extra money they've got back in tax cuts. And New Zealanders are ultimately the ones paying the price for this government's bad choices.
Right. number one, Chippy. I've got two other ones which are a bit shorter and one that's very, very short to go as well. But do you want to speak to that at all?
I was really critical of Chris Hipkins yesterday. There's still things that I've been quite critical about him as well. That was near perfect.
Yeah, he had a really good session this morning, and we'll just go straight to the next part, because the next part is his conversation around Te Pāti Māori and the suspensions. And normally what I do is I kind of steal their glory and tell you what they're about to say. But he's got a couple of good points. One is about, fist fights. One is about Winston Peters to do with the disproportionate response to Māori MPs in the House.
Do you support the 21-day suspension for the co-leaders and the 7-day suspension for Hana Rāwhiti Maipi Clark?
I think there should be some sanction because the Māori Party broke the rules, and when you break the rules, even in protest, there needs to be some consequence for that. But I think 21 days is absolutely farcical. To put it into context, Winston Peters, well recognised as Parliament's worst...
This is good. Chewy, this is good. You were saying he was good in the last answer? This is good.
Winston Peters, well recognised as Parliament's worst behaved member of Parliament pretty much in all time, been named from Parliament, i.e. suspended from Parliament more than any other MP on record that I could find. If you added up all of his suspensions together over the 50-odd years that he's been in and out of this place...
Just a little
he left
stab.
something on the table there.
Just a little stab
400
there.
years.
So we'll
400 years.
We'll pick it up where he's saying if you added up all of Winston's suspensions, the most he's been suspended more than any other MP. If you added them all up,
50-odd years that he's been in and out of this place, it still wouldn't add up to the 21 days that they're now proposing to suspend the Māori Party for.
I mean, come on, Chippy, on fire, mic drop, great, great response. This is about another 15, 20 seconds. We'll get to the end of it because he's got more.
So I think that shows it's never been done before in New Zealand's history. And I think, frankly, I struggle to find any examples overseas in other countries of where a government has used its wafer-thin majority to unilaterally suspend its opponents for 21 days, particularly in the middle of a debate around the government's budget.
Very good, Chippy. Very good. And there's one more little clip I'm going to play. Actually, I'll just play it first, Chippy, and then we can wrap up. The last clip is basically Chippy talking about what would they need to do for you to actually to support the suspension, because he has already said suspension's probably in order, they broke the rules, but what does he need to see to actually then support it? And Clint referenced this earlier. Clint referenced when National realised that Labor weren't going to support this, then that's probably a clue. Now, what that implies to me, and Clint has internal knowledge, remember, he was a advisor to Dame Jacinda Ardern, so he was literally in those halls. What he's probably saying, what I'm getting from his inference is that normally with these kinds of suspensions, it's a process, everyone gets on board, they all vote yes, and we all move on. So as soon as the party says no, the party bringing forth the suspension being disproportionate should probably have gone, Now, that's what I'm reading, but I think it's a pretty fair read. So what would Chippy need to see to get on board? This is the part of this question.
I've said to the government very clearly that if they bring this back into line with a proportionate response that's in line with how other MPs have been treated for doing the same thing, then we'll continue to uphold the standards of Parliament. Bearing in mind, 2 other MPs have been censured by the Privileges Committee for bullying and intimidating behaviour in this Parliament, neither of whom were suspended from Parliament at all.
So once again, not to be too emotive, we get back to this idea, this truth, this statistical truth, that Māori get convicted of the same crimes, bullying and intimidation, and get a harsher penalty. I just don't know how any person in Parliament could not hang their head in shame when what you're doing in Parliament, the punishment you're handing out in Parliament, is actually representative of the institutionalised racism that you see punishments getting handed out to people getting convictions. Māori in the justice system are twice as likely to do time than non-Māori when they commit and get convicted of the same crime. Chippy just said there's been 2. One of them's Julianne Genter. It was intimidation, it was bullying. She was out of her seat as well, Chewy. In fact, she went over and touched the MP. She lifted his papers up and slammed them down. You could argue that was worse. Then symbols and haka, no time. 0, nothing whatsoever. Chewy, your chance to rap.
Julia Genter's case, she was still right.
Yeah, of course.
Because the whole thing was, have you even read this? Which Ducey hadn't. So I get the frustration. Very, very funny. But again, yes, she said I was wrong. She made an apology. Oh, all is forgiven. Winston Peters was kicked out of the House today for a shitty racist joke.
Oh, didn't know that.
So, you know, it just everything is fucking crazy. It just feels like a clown show. I think in all of these interviews and in Hipkins' speech in the House today was especially good. I know I was very critical of him, and I'm sure I will be critical of him again in the future. And that's just because I want Labour, Greens, and Pāti Māori to get their shit together and be a cohesive unit with one single objective, is to get this fucking government gone. To put a stake through its heart and get it done. Yep. Don't snipe at each other. Don't criticize each other's ideas. Build on them. Find consensus and common ground.
Hey, thanks for being with us tonight. Apologies about the camera issues. I know that you're all missing seeing my beautiful face. I'm missing seeing it too, so not sure how we're quite going to do that. Want to remind you all as well that we are supporting through our merch store Women's Refuge for all of May. If you purchased your merch, I'll tell you tomorrow night. Next round of merch should be to you by the end of this week, start of the following week, depending on the couriers. If you purchase any hoodie on the merch store, bhnshop.nz, that will give Women's Refuge one safe night, safenight.nz. If you purchase any T-shirt, we need 2 T-shirts, we'll give them one. So you don't have to buy 2 T-shirts, you buy one, someone else buy one, that's 2 together, and we'll donate a safe night to Women's Refuge for you supporting both us and both them at the same time. If you can only afford to support one party but not both, then go and support Women's Refuge. That's what I would suggest. You okay with that, Joey? Go and support Women's Refuge?
Yes, I am okay. We've got those tax stickers, don't we?
We do.
Would they look really good on the back of Hosking's Lamborghini?
Ferrari, I think, but yeah. Look,
it's a Ferrari.
You can buy a 50-pack of them if you really want it.
50-pack. Yeah. Do you think I'd have enough time to cover the entire driver's side of Hosking's Ferrari?
I don't want a lawyer's letter.
Just make sure we've got some in Auckland. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no. I was thinking about that. Speaking of Auckland, let's also mention one more time. I've lost my mouse, Chewy. There it is. Lost my mouse. Lost my camera. Oh gosh, it's all going to Pat. Is that the right way of using that word? I don't even know. I want to say huge thanks to our patrons. I mean, the super chats are amazing. Thank you so much. The merch store is amazing, but the way we're able to continue to do what we do each month and pay the basics is because of our lovely patrons. I will always feel like I need to apologize because I don't pay our patrons enough attention, and that is definitely a plan to change. That will be changed once I get some more help on board to do some of the dog's body work, which I'm doing at the moment. But there is a post up on Patreon right now talking about an Auckland meetup. Now, I'm sorry for people outside of Auckland. I know it doesn't really work for all of you. But Chewy and I, we probably haven't told people, Chewy, we've been nominated for an award. I know this is probably new news.
Just super casual. I'll be in the same room as Mike Hosking. Will I be in the same room?
Oh, stickers then. We can pass them out in the actual building. That'd be fun.
Oh, 100%. Well, I want a big bag of stickers there. Okay. So Hoskins is going to be there. Is a certain wee Oliver going to be there?
No. No, he
or
wouldn't
has
be
his
seen.
product not been nominated for any awards because he's a garbage fire?
He wouldn't be seen dead, bro. So thanks to our patrons. If you're enjoying what we do, if you want to get support behind us and support us more like on a regular basis, like we always use the example of Waitangi Day. We're planning to try and be at Waitangi again for next Waitangi Day. One of the reasons we can plan that far ahead is because of the patrons. But everything else is fantastic, and you're all very generous, and we do rely on that as well. But it's the patrons who actually really secure us to being able to make commitments in the upcoming future. So patreon.com/Big Hairy News. If you are in Auckland, there is a post up there at the moment asking you if you would like to have a patrons meetup, a patrons only meetup in Auckland. Jump in there and share your thoughts, because I guess what we're thinking about is having a general meetup, but also doing a patrons only meetup, which will be a bit different, a bit smaller and a bit more exclusive and easier access and stuff, I guess, as well, to say thanks for doing what you guys do. But it's hard because I have to book somewhere. I have to book somewhere, and if 4 people want to do it, then I can just book a picnic table. But if 40 people want to do it, we probably need a room in a pub or something. So if you are a patron, especially if you're in Auckland, patreon.com/Big Hairy News, jump in there and tell us what you're thinking. If you're not a patron and you want to be a part of us, if you're not a patron and you're in Auckland and you want to be a part of a meetup, then that's an IRL meetup. Me and Chewy will be there. Then that's scheduled for the 6th of June, Friday the 6th of June. I started looking at places today to book Chewy. That's it for me, sir. I think everyone's had enough of seeing my avatar. Oh, shit, I didn't mean that to start so quickly. I guess it could have. My avatar. We'll try and get our stuff sorted out by tomorrow night. Yeah, no, I think I can probably push that now.
Oh, I don't care for that.
Got to share that one.
I don't care for that at all.
Not that one at all? Okay.
Funny, even if we're all creatures of hate, it's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work at what they can't afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a war puff to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All heavily, neither this way or that, and we'll be analyzed by what Chewy and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
I don't have too much more to say, Chewy. That's it. Thanks for being with us tonight. Thanks to Clint Smith. Thanks to the ball boys. Thanks to the umpires. Thanks to the reserves off the bench. And thanks to Chewy, who is my hooker.
I don't care for that either.
No, not really.
Both because of both of its connotations, the linking me with sports. No. Horrible.
All right, team. We'll catch you tomorrow night from 9 for another edition of Big Hairy News. Hooroo.
Cheers, fam.